The stadium was filled with roaring applause, bright flashes from cameras, and families hugging their children who had just crossed the stage. Laughter and pride filled the air, echoing like music. But in the midst of that joy, at the very back of the graduation hall, sat a man in a sleek wheelchair. His face was calm, but his eyes carried a storm. That man was Alexander Pierce, billionaire CEO, admired across industries for building an empire from scratch. Yet in this moment, none of his wealth, none of his power, none of his fame mattered. He sat alone, paralyzed from the waist down, with no family cheering, no friends patting his shoulder, and no one waiting with open arms. His story wasn't supposed to be this way. People glanced at him, then quickly turned away, unsure of how to approach him. Some whispered, some judged, others pitied. But no one dared to walk up to the lonely figure in the corner. No one. Except a young waitress working at the event, balancing trays of food and drinks, her apron slightly worn but her smile unshaken. Her name was Naomi Carter, a 24-year-old African-American woman, juggling 2 jobs to support her younger siblings after her parents' passing. She didn't come from wealth, and she certainly didn't belong among the graduates or their wealthy families. But as she passed Alexander's table, she noticed something no one else did: his silence. Naomi slowed down, her instincts pulling her closer. She saw past the polished suit and the wheelchair. She saw a man who was hurting. Without hesitation, she set down her tray, wiped her hands on her apron, and whispered softly, "Mind if I sit with you?" Alexander looked up, startled. He wasn't used to people approaching him without an agenda. He studied her kind eyes, her genuine concern. And then, for the first time that day, he nodded. That small act, a waitress choosing to sit with a billionaire, was the beginning of a story that would change both their lives forever. Naomi learned quickly that Alexander wasn't just a man in a chair. He was a man who had been broken in ways no degree could fix. Months earlier, he had been in a tragic accident, his luxury car crushed on a rainy night when a truck swerved into his lane. Doctors saved his life, but the price was high. His legs would never move again. For a man who had built his image on strength, dominance, and independence, the paralysis was more than a physical prison. It was emotional exile. Alexander admitted he didn't even want to attend this graduation ceremony. He had earned his honorary doctorate in business, the world celebrating his achievements. Yet he felt like a fraud, because behind closed doors, he was drowning in loneliness. His fiancée had left him. His friends had distanced themselves. And his own family treated him like a burden. Naomi listened quietly, not interrupting, not judging. She didn't see a billionaire or a man defined by disability. She saw a human being stripped of everything but his soul. She shared her own struggles, how she lost both parents within a year, how she worked until her hands blistered just to pay rent, and how she often sat in the dark crying but never let her siblings see her break. For hours, the two of them talked. Around them, the ceremony ended, families left, and the janitors began cleaning. But Alexander and Naomi remained, two strangers whose pain had woven an invisible thread between them. In the weeks that followed, Alexander asked Naomi to visit him. She was hesitant. After all, what did a billionaire CEO want with a waitress? But when she finally agreed, she realized he wasn't inviting her to impress her with wealth. He was inviting her to remind him how to live again. But it wasn't easy. Society's judgment was cruel. Naomi was ridiculed for spending time with him, some accused her of gold digging, others mocked her for stepping out of her place. Alexander too faced whispers from business partners who doubted his ability to lead in a wheelchair. Together, they endured the sting of prejudice. One night, after Alexander had nearly given up on therapy, Naomi confronted him. Tears in her eyes, she said, "You have two choices, let this chair define you, or let it refine you. I've lost everything before, but I never stopped fighting. Don't you dare stop now." Those words ignited something inside him. The man who had once built empires remembered his strength. He poured himself into his work again, finding ways to run his company from his chair, proving doubters wrong. He even started a foundation for people with disabilities, opening opportunities for those society often ignored. And at every step, Naomi was there. Not as a servant, not as a fan, but as a friend who believed when no one else did. Their bond deepened over time, but it wasn't love at first sight in a romantic way. It was love built from respect, sacrifice, and shared battles. Alexander supported Naomi too, paying for her siblings' education quietly, helping her build stability without ever making her feel small. Years later, at another graduation, this time Naomi's younger brother walking across the stage, Alexander sat proudly among her family. He wasn't alone anymore. He wasn't broken anymore. He had found something no accident could take away: human connection. The story of Alexander and Naomi isn't just about a billionaire and a waitress. It's about how kindness can bridge the widest gaps, how empathy can heal wounds deeper than scars, and how strength is never about standing tall but about rising every time life tries to knock you down. So, if you're watching this video right now, I want you to take a moment to think. Who is sitting alone in your life? Who needs you to walk over and say, "Mind if I sit with you?" Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change someone's entire world. Please share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what part of this story touched you the most. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because on this channel, Be Kind Always, we believe in sharing stories that inspire hope, compassion, and courage.